Let me share with you.
Not now, I'm busy.
They're being presented with sex ed and they're being presented with anti-moral type of values.
You have my attention.
What's happening on campuses, not only in the high schools, in the very early education of kids starting from elementary school up to junior high and high school. They're being presented with sex ed and they're being presented with anti-moral type of values.
Schools are places where you have children from a huge variety of backgrounds. And it is impossible to expose every child to human morals that their parents agree with. This is why sexual education at schools is not supposed to be about morals, but about knowledge.
If we feel sincerely about our fellow non-Muslims and we would like to reach out to them, we're going to have to do something about sex education.
If you feel sincerely for non-Muslims, you should realize that they do not share your opinion. And you should search for a common ground instead of just ignoring their opinion.
I'm saying that in Muslim countries, in typically Muslim countries, to save their kids, there was a proposal by Muslims at the very top level that there should be an Islamic sex education course.
A typical Islamic country like, for example, Saudi Arabia, where you get punished for being raped, or Mali, with 75% of child marriage. And wasn't female circumcision also praised in many hadith? Don't get me wrong, I'm sure your concerns about sexual educations are well meant. But I don't think that importing an Islamic course in a public school is the proper approach.
So our fellow Christians have already proposed Christian sex education courses. Our fellow Muslims have not done the same.
You're right, due to a good Motherhood study, only Louisiana and California are obliged to not promote religion during their sexual education classes.
The Islamic sex education alternative for Muslims and non-Muslims will teach them good spirituality and good morality.
Spirituality doesn't have any condition.
My problem with your approach is that it simply does not fit into a sexual education class.
And they're not forced into the secularized sex ed curriculum, or the Christian for that matter, since there is freedom of worship and freedom of choice.
Let's assume your daughter had unprotected intercourse and as a result she got pregnant. It does not matter at all how ashamed she feels. She will not be able to turn back the clock. Guilt and fear are no protection at all against STDs either. A condom, even if not fitting your moral expectations, would have done a better job.
That is the way to do a sex ed course. First you have to teach them ahkam al-bulugh, and that is what do kids in puberty do, and that has to be done in a polite language, because in the secular culture they use the lousiest and the dirtiest, and I'm sorry to say the very lowest type of language, which has turned our kids into little perverts.
The language used at school is mostly the one used also in medicine. It is by definition the most neutral language you could use for your body parts. Also, you can still teach your children about ahkam al-bulugh, and you can still tell them to use language you see fit when they're at home.
Actually, this is happening because the gay culture is permeating the society to a very dangerous extent.
Wait, what? Your children are turned into perverts because of homosexuality? Isn't that a bit far-fetched?
They do have little books that say Heather has two dads, or no, my daddy's roommate. These little books are being given to elementary school kids to teach them that gay is okay. And of course, you as a Muslim is going to have to do something about that. You can't just stand there still.
In a school, the main problem teachers have is to make students accept each other. A child cannot choose its sexual tendencies, its skin color, or, for that matter, the religion of their parents. You would be the first to protest if your child would be mocked for being a Muslim, and yet you show the same disrespect towards people that are homosexual.
So you have to teach them ahkam al-bulugh. You have to teach them Islamic etiquette. Now, we as Muslims don't date.
Wait, Muslims don't date? Like, not even a coffee together?
Too much sugar.
Even Amish teenagers date.
They have no problem at all with dating. And I say, okay, my dear sister, do you believe that you believe in motherhood? She said, yeah, I believe that motherhood is very essential. And I think women should not go out of the home and do work or get engaged in jobs and leave their kids at home. Okay, and do you believe in dating? And she says, yes. Now, there's this extremism.
Whether a mother works or not has nothing to do with the sexual education she provides to her children. And how can dating be counted as extremism?
Well, what if you have good motherhood or you're there physically, but you're not able to guide your kids?
What makes your guiding of your children better than anyone else's?
Is teach your kids how to lower their gaze and guard their chastity. That is implementing the Sharia.
Okay, let us have a little chat about that. In England, or to be precise, in a very specific part in London, there are patrols trying to enforce Sharia on foreigners that are coming there from England. They even have special schools and courts with Sharia law for Muslims only. If you would be true to what you say, you would really fancy to live there. But you don't. You know very well that the states are better for you. In Sharia, your word is only worth half of the word of a man. You will inherit half as much as your brother, and if you ever divorce, you will end up empty-handed. Why? Because in Sharia, women are simply worth less. Is it really better to be a second-class citizen just to not have perfect children at home?
I take my kid to school back and forth, and I see it's like a zoo. It's like a zoo. You enter any high school and you're in shock. Not only because of drug addiction, but also of all those new fashions and fads that they keep picking up culturally. And they dye their hairs purple and green and blue and yellow and all kinds. And you see the type of nails that they wear.
To be honest, I can't really follow your concern. A high school has a lot of different people from different cultures. It is the best training ground to make up your own mind. I have to leave out the drug part, because I could not really find any reliable data for it. However, dyed hair doesn't really seem something harmful, and same goes for nails, both of which have nothing to do with sexual education, by the way.
And actually, they would do things in front of you that you would never have believed could be done on a school campus, in front of your own kids and in front of their own eyes.
And what are those horrible things you see on campus? Please be more precise.
When a kid comes here, he thinks that he has all those pressures around him, and he sees the peer pressure, and he sees that he has to conform to this type of attitude in order to be accepted on a high school campus. But you have to give that kid an option. Tell him, okay, although you are going to see all of those things, in Islam, there is a reason for forming a family.
I agree on the pressure part. There is indeed a very huge pressure on teenage people. But while you wish to discriminate homosexuals, who have an even bigger pressure on themselves, you also don't do justice to your kids. Let me explain. A teenager is supposed to learn from silly mistakes, while at the same time having enough knowledge to not make terrible mistakes. Your rules don't teach the consequence of a dangerous action. They either restrict people, not allowing them to learn from their mistakes, or they will get ignored, potentially causing horrible outcome.
You're not going to let these kids be lost in society because it's taking too long. We are watching for too long. And I think the gays and the lesbians are very, very aggressive about it. And they actually tap every media venue to do that.
Yes, it is taking too long. There should be legislation and social acceptance considering them as equal already since yesterday. If you as a Muslim would not allow me to marry, you would get vocal as well. Maybe not that vocal.
While our muhajjaba sisters in hijab can walk around and be harassed, they can be discriminated against, their hijabs can be picked at, they can be fired from their jobs, they have to go to care and complain. You cannot in any classroom, and I challenge you, say anything negatively about the gays and the lesbians. In any classroom, if you're teaching on campus, there's no way you can do that.
It is funny you mention harassment. There would not be so many homosexual teenagers trying to kill themselves if they weren't harassed that much.
It is how people are built.
And yes, you're right. Many girls in hijab, they're brutally harassed, tortured, or even killed by their own family.
البنت قصبتها قلت لها ما بالله توافق ماشي يكسرها.
Now also they impose on you gay and lesbian teachers, and our kids are there receiving that kind of information from these quote-unquote role models.
What role models, aren't they? People that stand up for themselves. How dare we?
When immigrants come to this country, they don't know that they have to give a lot of love and attention and care to the kids.
Every child should be loved. And if you sincerely love your child, your love raises above your ideology.
If you don't have security in the home, if you don't have moral values in the home, if you don't have love and spiritual attention, if you don't pray with your family and teach your kids that you're the leader here, and when you come to pray, call the whole family, come kids, let's go pray together, to stay together, they're going to go out there and get the love from someone else.
I love the love you seem to consider love. Tell them who's the boss, tell them what the rules are, and get it stuck in their minds. And that all with that much same hand movement of yours.
But they're hot shots in dawah, and their kids are having now abortions. You see how dangerous that is?
Condoms prevent unwanted pregnancy, and knowledge prevents unwanted mistakes. There is a reason for sex education the secular way it was designed.